Alright, here we go. So in Photomatix, so you're gonna do batch. You click batch bracketed photos. These are the settings that you'll use. Merge 3 images at a time. That's how many you'll be shooting. Just do, I mean, you can do whatever folders you want. I think it's easiest to do subfolder within source folder. By far, it'll create a folder named Photomatix Results. Always do TIFF 16-bit. All right, so the preset for interiors will always be interior 2. It's by far the best one that I've seen. Image alignment, do crop aligned images, check those two. Noise reduction. You don't need ghost removal because there shouldn't be any ghosting, even if there's leaves and stuff that are moving. Like, it doesn't really matter. Don't worry about it. It'll just add more processing time. So 12 maximum shift, 12%. I think these are all default settings. I didn't go in and change any of these. So just, yeah, take a screenshot, make sure that your settings are the same as this. And don't do any contrast, do strong sharpening, and let's see, naming, resizing. I just don't I don't do any of that. I just keep it the same, just the same file name. It'll change it to the file name and then TIFF. So boom. And so what you do is, so these are all unprocessed straight from Photomatix. The interiors, your exteriors, you'll take them straight from your downloads folder. When you download them from Photomatix, just throw them in the Photomatix folder for each house, and then I edit those separately. So for the interiors, what adjustments I usually do to all of them are, and first let's set the screen brightness. Usually I set my screen brightness to pretty bright, like at least over 75% brightness. Try to edit in the same, same lighting environment. But I mean, sometimes it's impossible if you're on the move or, if you're going different places. But these are generally the settings that I'll use. Like shadows, I'll go up around 20. Whites, I'll take them up around 40. That just gives the photo a little more pop. Texture, this is new. What it does, it's really sharpening is what I would say. Like, it helps sharpen it a lot. So I'll usually do around half for that. Clarity, you can do, this will be different for each photo, but I usually like to go around 10. And it looks a little bit noisy right now, but we'll fix that. Like, it'll be okay. So hue, so saturation, what I usually do is yellows and oranges tend to be a color that Photomatix, emphasizes, that the whole HDR process will emphasize. So I usually take orange and yellow down at least a little bit. Sometimes, usually I'll end up going even more than that. Some colors that usually you don't need to show inside are green. All of these ones right here, green through magenta. Usually they aren't natural colors, and sometimes there will be walls that are those colors, and you can just handle those photos individually. You can just put the saturation back up for those. But usually blue light, there's a lot of blue light pollution coming through the windows, so we don't want that. So we want to get rid of that blue light. So yeah, do those adjustments for every interior photo usually, unless the color of the walls, or there's plants. If there's plants in the room, you can undo the green and make those saturated. All right, so sharpening, usually I'll do that like half, and then this will be what gets rid of the noise. Noise reduction pretty much just boom, just takes care of it. Then you don't need to worry about that. You can close that box. Lens corrections, chromatic, enable profile. You might have to do this manually, but this one I just set it to the Nikon. Even though I'm on a Tokina lens, it still corrects it just fine. Just use your judgment on it. You don't have to, but I find it does help for me. All right, and that's it so make sure you have all of the interiors selected. And a good shortcut for this is, so if you want to go to develop, just hit D. To get the grid view, hit G, and then that'll take you to that. So D, it'll go to whatever photo you're selected. Go to sync all of these settings to each photo. And then what you do is go and do your perspective correction. So I just do either vertical or auto, whichever works best. Sometimes one of them will just mess up the photo, so you don't want to do that. But this one, vertical, is working out pretty well. And these photos are looking really good, so luckily there won't be a lot of editing for these, which is what I figured. So this is good. So just boom. Boom. This won't take too long. Then this gives you an idea. See, that one I didn't really like what it did. Let's see what auto does. Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, and colors are looking pretty good. Obviously we'll go through and alter some of them. but everything's looking good on this house so far. Yeah, looking great. See, and that's the only, actually, no, yeah, this one, needs to be warmed up a little bit. We'll do that later. All right, and we're back to where we started. So everything looked pretty good. So one of the first things I'll do is I keep my adjustment brush. I keep it on default, set to exposure 20, whites 20. Because what that does is help you take care of shadow areas. Rather, sometimes you can do a shadow adjustment, like on the whole photo, like this right here, like just increase the shadows more. But usually that gets the whole thing washed out. Usually there's only specific areas where you need to do a shadow adjustment. And this one, I still think it needs a little more contrast. So for that, I use blacks. So boom, I think this photo is pretty good. And you can also do it. So sometimes around windows, it gets a little dark in places. So what you can do to essentially get rid of that, you can just boom, go just like that, just tap it once, click it once, and then look at the feathering, get your feathering to about this. So feather I set at 50, flow at 100. So that'll pretty much, and you can like change your brush and and just tap it and do a pretty broad area like all at once. I don't want to do that, but gives you an idea of what can be done with it. Actually, that's okay right there. I'm gonna hit it one more up here. Boom. So you take care of the shadow areas. What you're looking for is to create a pretty nice even exposure. You don't want any extreme areas of like shadows. I'm gonna hit blacks just a little more. Just give it some contrast. Boom. There we go. This one is looking pretty good. Like I'm liking it a lot. I'm gonna hit these areas a little bit here, but these bedroom photos, they're not as important. And actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out, just because normally I would crop it out, but I sort of want to see through that hallway. So just, if there's something distracting, like that's red, just boom, just down the red saturation, or whatever color it is. This one, looks like there's a little bit of orange, so I'm just going to take that down. This one, it's looking pretty good. Usually names, if there's like someone's name, like a lot of times, like people will put kids' names on the walls. I just take them out, just because I would rather do it now than have them say later, oh hey, can you take out the kids' names? Like then you have to go back and do it, and it's just a pain. So I just do it right away, each one. And so for this room, now I'm going to show you some hue next. What I'm going to do is do that shadow adjustment first. I'm going to do it up here too, usually up in windows or near windows and like up in ceilings. That's where you'll see the shadow adjustments need to be like brought up a little bit. So we'll do that. And then I think it needs a little more contrast overall, so that's when we'll add the blacks. So then we'll hit the shadows again, just because that made it a little, when we increase the blacks, that changed it. So all right, so I like that overall exposure right there. And now, and you'll remember, like go off of your memory, like how the oranges looked. Actually, you can go into hue, and I think because I think this orange, it was a little bit more like that. It was a little bit more red rather than green, so you can go back in and change that. And that's an easy way just to, take care of that. And that one, let's see, that's about right there. You can just switch back and forth in between the photos, and boom, I like that. And this photo looks pretty dang good. Like we don't really have to do a whole lot. This is a simpler house, so it's an easy one to show. I'll have a more complicated video, probably for like a harder edit. This one. Use the orange, and you can also sync these settings. Like say once you tweak the orange in one, you can go to the room and select each photo in that room. Then it might go a little bit faster, but I think this is just the same amount of time. Sometimes there's light artifacts like that, so I just go in and boom, just take that out. I'm just gonna just do one tap on this one. Yeah, I like that exposure. Take that down a bit. Okay. Change that orange again. Like it. Boom, that one's looking pretty. Actually, I'm gonna do it again for this one right here. Okay, I like that. And this one. Orange. Okay. I'm gonna take up the whites a little more on this one, right about there. And also shadows a little bit, and then black. Sometimes you just gotta tweak it, and yeah. And sometimes you just have to take a look away for a little bit and then go back to a photo if you're stuck on what to do at the moment. Sometimes with cloning and healing can get weird with JPEGs. Like it just can't really, like popcorn ceilings like this, it can just do weird things. So just keep an eye on it, move it like a little bit until you get to a spot. Boom, right there. We're just gonna do that. This one, I'm okay with it overall. This one, you can see like the sort of the color shift right there. So I'm just gonna take down the. Actually, instead of taking the temp down, I'm just gonna reduce the orange a little bit more. Or actually, I think that's more yellow. So we're just gonna reduce the yellow saturation. Yeah, boom, just like that. And then orange, we're gonna go a little bit more that way. Okay. Increase the shadows a little bit, bring out these midtones and stuff in here and in the couch. Take out that there. It's really annoying that it just can't clone well. I hate the Lightroom tool. It's just really frustrating. This one, I can't. It's so sometimes I just give up. Like if it's not gonna, I'll try like a smaller spot. Yeah, that worked better. So yeah, just try that. Okay, that looks better. All right, for this room, I think it was a little bit more. See, this one, I'd say it's a little green. It might have been that green in person. I don't know, but I'm just gonna take up the warmth. Just a little bit. Or actually, I'm gonna take the orange over just a tad. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. This one, I think, you know, you can pop up the whites a little bit more, and we're looking pretty good. Up the shadows just a little bit. And this exposure looks pretty well balanced. I'll hit around this window right here. And this one, maybe around like on this side, but that looks pretty good. This one, same thing. I'm just gonna keep it on that adjustment brush. Go around here. And this one, it's a little more pronounced, so I'm gonna take the blacks up and boom. So then that looks good. And then I'll take the blacks overall because I think it needs a little bit more contrast, but yeah, that's looking pretty good to me. Do the same orange adjustment. Just go back and forth, compare close enough. This one I'm going to take down the oranges even more just to balance out the exposure a little bit, or balance out the colors. Boom, we'll just do that. Increase contrast a little bit. I like it. This bathroom was tough to shoot. We'll just take down the orange again. And even if the light really was that orange in person, I still just like to take it down a little bit. You know, I mean, it just looks cleaner in the photo. Like, and it's not like you're misrepresenting anything, because there could be any color. Someone could just change them into different light bulbs too. So to get rid of that, boom. So that might look a little washed out around the window, but I'd rather have it look a little washed out rather than have that those black or those darkness around it. This one, definitely a little too much orange. And I'm gonna put this photo back with the batch of the other ones once I go through it. So get it as close as you remember. About there. This one I'm gonna warm up a little bit because I think it needs it, yeah, right about there. Just go with what you feel and then compare them all side by side later. This one I'm just gonna, so graduated filters are your friend a lot of the time, so it's still set on that same setting I had before. For this, I think this area, no, let's not do exposure, we're just gonna do blacks. I'm just gonna try and get that to match. This one's tough because the window just sort of messed up that whole side. Yeah, because you know it creates a difference from over here that way rather than here. Let's see. Actually, what it looks like. So that side looks a little more magenta, so I'm going to take it back green to try and match them up, and that worked pretty well. Yeah, to like match up the colors. I'm gonna take up, no, that's messed it up too much. That's pretty good right there. And let's see what saturation does, because I think, yeah, we'll take the saturation up a little bit. Boom, that's fine. This area, can't really do a whole lot for it. Just gonna try changing the whites. Yeah, this dark spot, it's just annoying, and that's what happens sometimes when the windows are like that. So, I'm gonna change I want to change like this hue in here, the orange, because this is more like, this is yellow and then this is orange, it looks like. So I'm going to, yeah, boom, see? So you can adjust that orange. So now all the cabinets are pretty much the same color. Then you can go in and change the yellow. Actually, I'm just gonna leave that. I'm gonna increase this orange saturation, because I think that's about what it was in person, like right there. I mean, that's pretty close. Actually, let's go through, make these a little bit less. Oh, now I'm gonna change the yellow to match that orange, or try to. Yeah, there we go. I'm sorry, I had to go the other way. Yeah. Boom. Because I think that works. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna change the tint on this to green, a little more green overall. Try to get it a little bit closer. But yeah, that's close enough for me right there. And really, I mean, you don't even need this shot. I mean, it's just, I shot it, so whatever, we'll keep it. But that shot shows the same view. This shot looks pretty good. I like that. I'm gonna give this a little pop right here. This one looks pretty good overall. I like it. I'm gonna check the perspective. So we're gonna straighten it out a little bit. And so that was just the horizontal perspective correction. So leave that one open. Just gonna do a quick magenta shift over here, or green shift. Just gonna take down the blacks a little bit and make this a little more green to match. Yeah, we'll keep it right about there. Okay. And this one, I'm going to increase the warmth overall first. And then this one will be, so it's mostly yellow right here, so we're going to make this yellow a little bit more orange to try and get it to match that. And yeah, that's close enough. And we're going to take a graduated filter, because I think that whole area down there is a little bit overexposed. So I'm going to just do an exposure change, boom, just right there. And then I'll come in here. I think that got a little dark, so we can go in there and give that a pop. Looks pretty good. Alright, and this, let's bring up the shadows just a little bit. White. I'm gonna warm it up just a tad. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, how many photos do we have? Let's see, we got 30 on there. Sometimes I just get sick of editing the same room, but I mean, I'll just see this one through. I'm just going to change this orange hue a little bit more yellow, then increase it right about there. I think that's about good. I'm going to put that photo back with all the rest of the kitchen ones, and boom, and we're good. So we're back to where we started. And what I do is go through quickly. I go through just eyeball each one. Sometimes I'll do, or actually what I'll do is do the exteriors now. So when you get the exteriors back from Photo Up, they're typically a little washed out. And that's fine, because it gives you the leeway just to like do your own edits. So usually, like, I'll increase the blacks, and a lot of times you have to take the exposure down too, and then also increase whites. And so this house was backlit, and And so usually what I'll do, actually I'll keep this photo here and always take out signs. Like obviously, because realtor signs, like you can't have advertising in the MLS. So I just always take signs out, take them down. If they're not easy, if you can tell in person that they're not going to be easy to Photoshop out, just take them down and set them in the grass because they'll be a lot easier. And also basketball hoops, if they're easy to move in person, I'll slide them out of the way. But if they're against trees like this, I'll just leave them there and then Photoshop them out. Super easy. And now to make what you do to create another perspective, like I'm going to do one that zoomed in more on the house. Just create a virtual copy. And because this one showed like the yard, gave an idea of how big the yard is. And don't do this if it's going to create a photo that's too small. I would say don't go less than half the size of the original photo. So that's looking pretty good right there. And then I'll increase the vibrance a little bit. Sometimes you can do the blue, you'll have to do the sky separately, like it won't be blue enough or it'll be way too blue, and you have to go in and adjust that, just with the blue itself. But here I think it's pretty good. Yeah, I like this one. So I'm gonna go and sync this to every photo because I have all the exteriors selected. So boom, they're all synchronized now. And this, it's not ideal. I would have parked the cars and stuff somewhere else. You have to like do some Photoshop work to, well, you just have to do some cloning to get that shit out of there. Actually, I'm gonna do this first. Just gonna clone it. Start out cloning. This one, it's a pain in the ass a little bit. Actually, here we go. Hopefully this matches up. What I should have done, actually, I'm going to remove this. And then go in here. Take these out. And then I'm going to do healing on this one because it'll probably match it up better. Hopefully. Hopefully. You know what? I don't even care. No one's really gonna. It doesn't really matter on the road. And don't be picky about this. I mean, if it's something in the distance, nobody's gonna realize that there were cars there. And yeah, ideally, you wouldn't park your cars there, but I didn't notice it until later. And then you can go in and clean up this. It'll be less noticeable. And actually on here, just clean up these edges. Switch this to heal. And then it just cleans up those edges, makes it smoother, less noticeable. Take out that brush pile. And take out this vehicle here. No. Just boom, boom, just like this. Switch this to clone. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. So it's not perfect, but no one cares. Actually, I'm gonna clean up this edge a little bit too. And that's really all you need. Just heal that. Blends it in good enough. Yep. Alright, and in the backyard, so everything's looking pretty good back here. That synced adjustment just worked out well. I like that. And that one, so this one, you can see it's like what sometimes you get photos back and you're like, what the hell? Like, just match up the white balance. So change the white balance on that. Just make a match as good as you can. I'm gonna I think this one's a little warm. Boom. Yeah, that works pretty well. Take exposure down a little bit, but that's okay. And boom, that's it. So I think this one I'm gonna make a little more green. Or actually, no. What I'm going to do is just take down. There we go. And take this one. We don't really need this one. Actually, I'm just going to, well, I'll just leave it. Take the blacks down a little bit. Vibrance up just a tad. Just a tad more on this one. There we go. All right. So, and the way you order them is front photos. First, you got to select the whole catalog. You got to select the whole catalog. It's annoying. So put every photo in the front, like that, and then have the backyard in the back. And then what I do is order each of these photos. Do living room, then kitchen. Do like living room areas, entryway areas, then kitchen, then master, and any other random bathrooms. I'm gonna move these bedrooms back here just to separate these two bathrooms. Let's, because that's the master bath, so you want to keep that with the master. And then, so you're good. And then basically you just go through and tweak the photos a little bit more. These I like. This one's good. Just do it. Just have a fresh look, you know, real quick. Sometimes you'll see stuff where you're like, oh, that color's still a little bit off. This one I'm gonna take it down just a tad. Increase the whites a little bit. Just increase the whites on most of these probably. That's usually what I find out what happens. Like I just want them to have more contrast. And this one's a little bit green to me, so I'm gonna increase the magenta a little bit. Actually on this next one I'm just gonna decrease. There we go, just to match them up. And this one, too much orange. And what we're going to do is make that orange. And that color. Sometimes I get a little hung up on it too. This one, sometimes it's just tough. You just gotta just roll with it. Take down the yellow. I think that's okay. Oh, and then the name. Yeah, sometimes you'll catch stuff that you want to clone out. Make sure it's on heel. Good. Just make sure these are consistent. I'm gonna do. I think this area is a little dark just on this side. So I'm just gonna take a brush, do that. Looks good. Okay. I'm gonna put this photo next to this just to try and match that up. And yeah, close enough for me. Boom. Good. We increase the exposure overall on this one. I think it's a little dark. And that's it, really. And I'm gonna take down this saturate or the exposure on this. So just use a graduated filter. Sometimes lawns will just be, overexposed. You want to focus attention on the house, so keep lawns like a little bit darker, and then let it get a little brighter when it goes up to the house. But yeah, that's it. And then when you go to export it, what you'll do is you'll have their name and the address. That's gonna be the Dropbox folder, and then each file name, just write the address. You want to do start number 1, no video settings, file settings, JPEG, sRGB. I do 80 quality. You don't have to limit the file size. It'll be around 1,000 no matter what. Resize to fit 2300. resolution 300 dpi, don't enlarge. And usually I stripe in for screen too. There's only a watermark for one person, for Lauren Beatty, so far. But so yeah, those are the settings that you use.